Here are some rules for syllabicating words that have past tense or plural endings. For most words that end in ed, the e is silent. So the first word will have just two parts, the next will have two as well, and the third. The fourth word will have four parts, and the last will have three. Divide the words into parts. Check to make sure that the number of parts matches the number of vowel sounds. Sound out the words. For most words that end in ed, the e will be silent. But if a word ends in ded or ted, the e will make a sound. So the first word will have two parts, the next will have three, the third will have four, and the last word will have three. Divide the words into parts. Check to make sure that the number of parts matches the number of vowel sounds. Sound out the words. We have seen that in many words ending in ed, the e will not make a sound. But when the endings ly or ness come after the ed, the e will make a sound. So the first word will have five parts, and the others will each have four. Divide the words into parts. Check to make sure that the number of parts matches the number of vowel sounds. Sound out the words. Now for plurals. For most words that end in s, the plural ending does not add a syllable because no vowel has been added. And even with words that end in es, the e will be silent. But there are some words with the plural es where the e does make a sound. If the es has a c, a ch, a g, an s, an sh, an x, or a z before it, the e will make a sound. So the first word will have three parts. The next will have three as well. And so will the next. Each of these words will have three parts. Divide the words into parts. Check to make sure that the number of parts matches the number of vowel sounds. Sound out the words. There are many scientific words that end in a, and sometimes these words form the plural by adding s, and sometimes by adding an e. And when the e is added, the a and the e make one sound. There are also a few scientific words ending in zo that form the plural by adding a. And in these words, the o and the a make two separate sounds. To wrap up, though the rules work well for syllabicating almost all words, including those with prefixes, suffixes, and other endings, there are a couple of situations where the rules will not apply. We know that when two vowels are together in a word, and the first one is an a, an e, or an o, the two vowels together will make one sound. But there are a few words where a prefix that ends with a vowel will be connected to a word that begins with a vowel. And in this case, the rules will not help. But being able to recognize prefixes that end in a, e, or o can help. And there are also some words where suffixes that begin with vowels are added to words that end with vowels, And in this case, a knowledge of some suffixes will help as well. There are also some compound words where the first word ends with a vowel and the next word begins with one. In this case, an understanding of compound words can be helpful. Though knowing the rules can help students to divide most words in the language correctly, some words from other languages break the rules. For example, there are some words from the French where 3 vowels together will make one sound. And though we know that IE at the end of a word usually makes 2 sounds, these words from the French have an IER ending that makes 1 sound. And there are some words from other languages that break the silent E rule. From the Japanese, Spanish, French, Italian, and Greek. And in these words, also from the French, the I and A together make 1 sound. And finally, with these rare words from the Greek, the A and O make 2 separate sounds.